Welcome to the Freedom of Joy show on Revolution Radio. We do have we have a great show today, so hold on to your computers because we're going to get started here. First of all, I do want to mention that please do go to the freedomslips.com website and check us out and give us a donation. We are listener supported. Everyone here is a volunteer. So, we're able to keep talking and bringing all this wonderful, wonderful information. There's so much great programming going on here. And we also thank you for making the donation already. And we thank our listeners. I am in the chat line today. And I'm under the name Terry, and that's spelled T-E-R-E. I got a little bit of a different spelling of my name. And so we'll be taking questions from the chat line in the second hour. Also, we kind of look at the comments in between, so we like to share some people's thoughts that might be with us. And we will be taking phone calls in the second hour as well. The number is 347-688-2902. And, a lot of things are going on in the world. It seems like, and what I feel is happening for me personally is I've been experienced, and I can only talk from what I feel, but also I have friends, and now I know that the other people are experiencing the same thing, is I feel that, there's an awakening happening. The world doesn't seem like it did when I was younger, when I was growing up, or what I thought existence is, or what I thought my government was, or what I thought the United States was or is. It just feels like I'm beginning to all of a sudden think to myself, wow, when did this life turn into a science fiction film? When has it become where, 1984, when did this really become Orwellian? Sometimes I feel sort of isolated and how I do feel about it, because even though I have the wonderful opportunity and to be on Revolution Radio and to also be in the circle of people who are giving out some very interesting information to contemplate, as well as it's freeing for me. I feel like, oh, this is wonderful. But you know what? When I step out of this particular world or this particular forum and go into what I consider to be, my life where I'm talking to people and it's my family and, touring and doing stand-up comedy, and, I find that a lot of the topics and the subject matters that I love to listen to or talk about on Revolution Radio oftentimes are just completely off-limit conversations for some people. And I'm just observing this. I'm just trying to, I'm saying, okay, well, things look kind of crazy. And one of the crazy things that have been going on recently is the Bundy Ranch situation that is going on. It just seems like since yesterday, how I'm connected to on Facebook, it seems to be like one of the only things that I could look at the moment. A lot of my friends are reposting it. I started to become curious about it and explore it. And it's interesting in the sense that just about a week ago, I watched David Icke talk about on one of his series about how this was going to happen, that they would be taking our cattle away from us. They would be taking our ability to create our own vegetables and to they destroy the market for the farmer and take us off certain portions of land and bring us into specific areas in a very, congested kind of multi-level living situation. And that, and this is what we would be witnessing. And literally, I swear, literally a week or so later, this starts to happen. And it really makes you wonder for my understanding of what is taking place is this family has owned this land since 1821. It's in the 1800s. So basically, this family has owned this land for a couple of years now, and the federal government has come in, or I guess they're calling the BLM, and they're just letting them know that, hey, you have to pay a grazing tax now. And I love it how in our world, all of a sudden, I can drink water. Oh, you have a water tax. By the way, we're going to tell you that you need to have a permit to stand in that corner over there, because that little corner is owned by the federal government. And in order to stand there, you're going to have to pay some taxes to now stand in a position that was yours anyway. I mean, let's really think about who really owns what in the world. When is it that someone just walks up and just goes, oh, well, this land is mine? Really? Did you think that it was yours? No, it's not. And not only am I going to tell you that you don't own this property anymore, or you're not connected to this planet anymore, the only way that you can be connected to the resources of the planet in which you were born in is for me to tell you that that you're going to have to pay a tax for it, or basically I might have to move you over to another location because I say that I am now the owner. And what really gives that agency or that person the right to claim it? If you really want to go back into the history of time, just even think what we did to the Indians. What happened to the Indians? The Indians, owned or thought they owned, or maybe they didn't even think in those terms. I don't know. It seems to me that Indians were much more gratifying and in tune with the earth, and didn't take more than they needed, and then somehow they get bulldozed out. So now, a family that's owned this for many, many years is now being told that, that they have to not only, they didn't pay their taxes, they own over $1 million, because I guess he hasn't paid since like 1993. And the showdown is pretty scary looking. Apparently, they pretty much called martial law. It's like, I guess it's like not an official martial law. I guess it's kind of like not an official war. We're not really in Vietnam going to war. It's not really official war, and yet there's a lot of people dying. But we don't really want to call it a war. Therefore, we didn't call it that. It's not really happening. But it is happening. And if anybody out there has watched any of the videos and the way that they're being treated, this is what I saw when it was happening to medical marijuana. This is the same thing. I don't see anything different. Here we do. We have a plant. We have a right to have a plant. We have a right to use a plant. We have a right to smoke a plant. We should have a right to medicate ourselves with any plant that we choose to, because we exist on the planet. But that doesn't happen that way. The federal government comes in and says, no, you know what, you're going to this place to get some medicine. We're going to bring our guns on you, and we're going to tell you that, even though you're a patient and a sick person, no, you're really just a drug addict. Well, you know what? That is not even true in any way, shape, or form. What it really comes down to is it comes down to money, oppression. I mean, there's even a First Amendment section during their protests completely being ignored. Our constitutional rights, in my opinion, from what I can see, are completely being ignored, and it's shocking and it's disturbing. Meanwhile, there are some people that if you went and said, "Hey, there's an elephant in the room," or you know what, the world's about to, there's some serious things going on, and there's some people that are just running around their life going, oh, how come he hasn't called me? Why am I not getting that promotion? Well, I really don't like what they said to me. Oh, here's a picture of my meal on Facebook. You know what? Just keep, just go ahead and take some more aspartame. You know what I mean? And give you another shot of tequila, because one day you're going to have a bar in your arm, and you're going to go up to the bartender, and you're going to go, hey, give me another shot. Put it on my arm. And this is where I feel that we're possibly going. So anyway, the show that we have today is quite exciting. We're going to have Dino Dad 32 is going to be giving us the Freedom Report. in the second hour of the show. And, I know that a bit more of this topic is going to be discussed, the Bundy Ranch situation. And also, today I have a man on the show that has been using cannabis oil to treat his CPOD, and right now is not using any other medications at all. I believe it's not any medications. He's off his medications, and he's just using the cannabis oil, and he is symptom-free at the moment. He was very near death at one time, started using the cannabis oil, and he is here today to talk about it. So I would like to welcome to the show Jeff Waters. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me. It's a great honor.
Great. And so just so you're located in Oklahoma, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And I want to go into a little bit about your laws and how easily accessible your medicine is to you now, because Oklahoma isn't quite a progressive state is, let's say, California or Oregon or Washington. So I want to discuss that with you. But so what is, can you let our listeners know what exactly is COPD?
COPD is a blanket term that covers several lung conditions, including emphysema and chronic bronchitis. And they get blanketed under the COPD term. It's a terminal disease. Basically, you lose your breath. It sucks the breath out of you. You start out, usually when you start out, you may not even notice it. Maybe be a little bit out of breath when you're walking. It'll progress until you notice it increasingly more. You start medications. Eventually, you'll lead to oxygen, and eventually you'll die from it. There's a known medical cure out there by the actual medical community. All they can do is try to slow the progression down of the disease.
So now, Jeff, can I ask you, were you a smoker before?
Yes, I was. Actually, I had the gene COP alpha 1, and
we lost you a little bit there for a moment. Can you repeat that again, just a second?
Sure.
So I asked you if you were a smoker, and what's your answer? Hello?
From the time I was about...
Jeff?
Yes, hear me?
Jeff, we can't hear you right now. Are you there?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. You want to make sure that you're connected to us. Okay, can you say something again?
Yes.
Okay,
I was a smoker.
Okay, great. And and that's what I find interesting. The reason why I'm asking this, because I was a smoker too before, so I'm no judgment on that. But a lot of people feel that when you're talking about like a lung disease and being a smoker, they equate marijuana, like how would marijuana cure something that has to do with the lungs? Because a lot of people feel that anything that you take into your lungs is something that would not be healthy for you. But you're not smoking it. You're ingesting the oil. Is that correct?
That's correct. I have heard other COPD and lung patients that vape, but for me, that's not an option. I don't want to put anything in my lungs anymore that I'm not. If I grew it myself and it's chemical free, I would probably be more comfortable with it.
Well, it might be good to perhaps vaporize. I know that the vapors, the vapor pens, are less damaging, or if not damaging at all, because basically you're kind of just taking in vapor and it's not being lighted by a flame. It's the butane that isn't good to inhale. Is what my understanding is. Have you heard that?
I have heard that too. And like I said, just because it's my personal preference, and anybody who would ask me with lung problems, I would just certainly want to stay away from any vaping or smoking, to be honest with you. I would much rather oil is a lot safer alternative. It's for somebody with lung problems, ingesting it.
Yeah. So now, what happened? You had how long have you been diagnosed with CPOD?
Okay. Well, about 5 years ago, I received my first official diagnosis. But honestly, I probably had it before that because I was coming down with bronchitis every year, and would go to the emergency room, get antibiotics and steroids, and be on my way. Nobody ever caught it that early, though. But when I was diagnosed with it, everything changed. I started getting progressively worse. I was on inhalers. I was also on blood pressure medicine. I was on antidepressant medicine, anxiety medicine. You name it, I was on it. And oxygen at one time. But it progressively got worse, and it actually, I was not able to work any longer at one point because of the progression of the disease. And now I'm still not back to work now, but that's my overall goal, is to get back healthy enough to go back to work. My wife, God bless her soul, she's actually the one that's supporting us now. I went from being me as the supporter of the family to her, and thank God for that. But we get by with just her salary right now. But it's been a tough, long battle. I've been fighting it for a long time, but for the first time in a long time, I feel healthy and actually feel great.
Jeff, I find it interesting that you were also on antidepressants. Was that something that was related to this disease in any way? I mean, why, or is that just a whole completely separate situation?
I believe it was actually related to COPD. When you get a diagnosis of a terminal disease, it kind of shakes you a little bit. You go through a lot of different stages. You go from denial at first, anger, fear. Many nights my wife and I spent crying over this disease, and that, I believe, was what caused the depression and anxiety.
Have you ever had a problem with overcooking your cannabis oil? You probably wanted to rip your hair out when you burned off all the THC, right? I even cried one time when my brownies failed to make a good impression at the party. Well, I stopped crying when I found Magical Butter. Magical Butter is a device with a microprocessor-controlled program sequencer. It was designed by a scientist and a chemist to precisely extract the benefits of various herbs. Magical Butter easily makes botanical butter, oils, tinctures, lotions, sauces, and more. Magical Butter heats your oil and your herbs at the perfect temperature every time. Check us out at magicalbutter.com because it's magical. Okay, there's a lot of science and chemistry involved, but it sure works like magic.
If you are in the Portland, Oregon area and are an OMMP cardholder, then come down to Nikki's Diggity Dank Market, Portland, Oregon's first and only weekly OMMP market, presented by the Alternative Wellness Center, located at 5241 Southeast 72nd Avenue, 2 blocks south of Foster Boulevard, close to public transportation, held every Sunday 10 a.m. till 7 p.m., connecting quality vendors with patients. Nikki's Diggity Dank Market also has a weekly raffle with products from every vendor, so come down to Nikki's Diggity Dank Market and have fun while connecting with quality vendors and getting great natural medicine. If you are a vendor and want a chance to connect with OMMP patients, you can check out their Facebook page at facebook.com/Alternative Wellness Center or call 971-888-4392. Be sure to register early because space is limited. Nikki's Diggity Dank Market.
I don't know about you, but when I cultivate my clones, I want to give each and every one the best chance to grow into a mature, healthy plant. But after a few cloning cycles, I experienced decreased root density, slimy stems, or even worse, no roots at all. Growers know that reusing cloning collars results in failed clones. And cleaning cloning collars between grow cycles requires extra work and decreases root density. That's why I use PermaClone. Permaclone collars have been engineered to prevent failed clones by providing heat-sterilizable collars, which fit easy clone, turbo clone, or power cloner systems. Permaclone collars can be dry heat sterilized, pressure cooked, or autoclaved to completely kill all bacteria and fungi without harsh chemicals. Start cloning with confidence today and visit us at permaclone.com. Put in the code T for hemp with your order and receive a 10% discount on your purchase.
Headshot Canada. Based in Saskatchewan, Canada, it is shaking up the medical cannabis industry. Headshot Canada helps Canadian citizens in getting a medical marijuana license. They do this by filling out the paperwork. They also help explain your needs to your doctor and also help find the right strain for your condition. For this service, Headshot Canada charges a nominal fee of $100 and your participation in a research and development study to test the effectiveness of different cannabis strains on various medical conditions. Owner and founding farmer Tim Selinsky wants every Canadian to know that you have the universal right to a marijuana license. Unlike Compassion Clubs, Headshot Canada's goal is to get the right strain of cannabis for the ailment at a fair flat rate price for the patient no matter the strain. Headshot Canada offers 57 strains of cannabis grown at family-owned farms in Saskatchewan as opposed to Canadian federal government's one strain of irradiated garbage grown in a lab. Go to headshopcanada.com.
Free? Did you say free? Free hemp? Free hemp? Free hemp video and audio? Free downloads of all the top artists, all the pot artists on planet Earth. Interviews with all the people making the movement, making the hemp movement. It's time for hemp. That's right, world. It's time for hemp. That's right, world. It's time for hemp.
Yes. I find that interesting, though. This is what I find interesting about the fact that, in my opinion, and I suffer from anxiety. That is one of the reasons why I like to smoke cannabis. When I was in, I had agoraphobia when I was growing up at 17, and so I started going into therapy, and I was never ever at this time, and again, this is a long time ago, and the pharmaceuticals that exist today did not exist then. And of course, because of the fact that I was, 17 years old, I suppose, nobody thought of giving me any type of drugs in order to stay calm. No one medicated me. I did everything through behavioral cognitive therapy, visualization, meditation, being centered. Now sometimes, I do like to have a glass, I was going to say glass of wine. That's how I used to medicate myself for many years, is that I would have a drink or two. And it wasn't until, I started to smoke marijuana, specifically when I was working up in the Northwest, that I realized that it had a positive effect on me. And I stopped using alcohol to calm my nerves or to stay centered. So I find it interesting that that situations where the depression and the anxiety is situational. Life it gives you anxiety. Things happen. People get sick. We get sick. We have stresses or depressions or issues or money issues or whatever. It bothers me that there's a doctor out there that instead of maybe giving a therapy or talking to somebody or learning how to work our emotions through and accept them and move on and become healthy organically, that they're so quick to give us this antidepressant, which most of them just had one molecule switch so they can resell them on the market again, not really knowing what is that really doing to our brain chemistry. And that's why I'm just pointing this out for a moment. And what are your thoughts on that, Jeff?
Yeah, I agree with you. And the antidepressants and anxiety medicine were probably the worst medicines to get off of, to be honest with you. And they actually changed my personality. I wasn't myself when I was on those medications, and I will never again go on an antidepressant or anxiety medicine again.
Great. Well, I mean, and again, I'm not a doctor, so I'm sure that there would be the opposition that would want to argue this point with me. And again, maybe for some people, an antidepressant is the right choice. But I feel that as a human being, that we should have the right to make our choices, and also perhaps have, I don't know, did your doctor say that you had other options besides taking that medication, that there was another way of treating your anxiety? Did he give you other options?
Exactly. I would definitely agree with that, and even go a step further and research on your own options, the natural options that you could take to, even if you just included it with the medication that you're taking now or that you're on, try to improve your life. There are other options out there, other alternative help options that you can seek, and there's actually diets and things that you can do to change in your life that will help you through depression, anxiety, and different things. But you have to want to do that. You want to be open to other possibilities and research and make an educated decision for yourself. And if you've got a good doctor, that doctor should be able to sit down with you and have a discussion about what options you've researched and give you an honest opinion that's not based on big pharmaceutical money. Yeah,
I agree. I'm with you in this. So now you got diagnosed with COPD, and then you almost died. So can you take us to that point of your experience?
Sure. So what happened? I was on all my medications, oxygen, you name it, and people with COPD. And lung issues are more susceptible to the common cold, flu, pneumonia. If you catch the flu or pneumonia, especially pneumonia, it could be actually life-threatening. In my case, what started my whole journey into this to where I'm at now, I've been taking blood pressure medicine. I can't remember the name of it now. It's been so long since I took it, but I took it for years, several years, and never had a problem with it. I had high blood pressure. And then all of a sudden, just over a year ago, I woke up one day and I felt like I had maybe a sinus infection or something. And so I could over the counter.
Jeff, we can't hear you again.
Can you hear now?
Yeah.
Sorry. So I took some, I thought I had a sinus infection, and so I took some over-the-counter antihistamines. It wasn't working. I kept getting worse. I started swelling up in my face. So I went to a local hospital and described what I had, but I thought it was a sinus infection, so I had a bad sinus infection before. And they gave me, Benadryl and sent me home. 24 hours later, swelling got worse, so we went to another local hospital. At that hospital, basically, same thing. They told me I had severe lung scarring again, which I've heard before, and that they gave me some steroids and antibiotics and sent me home. Well, then over that next 24 hours, I swelled up so bad that my wife was afraid my throat was going to shut. I swell shut. So they rushed me to a bigger city, about an hour away, to a hospital there, who admitted me. And within 24 hours, they found out, first of all, what caused the swelling was I had an allergic reaction to that blood pressure medicine. And a lot of that experience are bits of memories, but they admitted me. Within 24 hours, they had me on a ventilator because I had staph pneumonia, and my lungs weren't capable of working on their own, and induced me in a medical coma. And I actually spent 28 days in the hospital, most of that time in the critical intensive care unit, and most of that time in a coma. And so it was a long fight, long battle. There were many from my family, my wife, my mother, and my sisters, everybody that were around me. It was a day-to-day thing. They didn't know if I was going to make it. They literally didn't. They were trying everything they could think of in the book to try to get me healthy again and try to save me, and giving me plasma, just every antibiotic you can think of. While I was there, on a side note, while I was in this critical intensive care, I caught MRSA, so that made it worse. And finally, one of the things that helped, I don't think that actually brought me out of it, but they had to actually fly in a shot. I'm not sure what was in the shot, but my family had to sign off on it. And the one shot, they called it a last chance shot, was $10,000.
And they flew it from another location over to where you were at?
They flew the actual shot in from another location, another state.
Wow.
And, yeah, and...
it's what, last chance?
That's how my wife... Up
to the Freedom of Joy show, with me I have Jeff Waters, who is a COPD patient that actually put his disease pretty much in remission by using cannabis oil, and he's with us today to tell us a story. Also, later on in the second hour, we're going to have Dino Dad 32 give us the Freedom Report on some really exciting news that he's got going on. And wow, I would have sneezed. Oh wait, no, it's not going to happen. Okay, all right, no, it is. Oh, okay, no, it didn't happen. Wow, okay. With me is Jeff. Jeff, how you doing?
Good.
Great. So you were telling us about how you got really sick. You were in the hospital. You were in an induced coma. They give you the last chance shot. And then what happened?
Yeah, let me give you an idea of how that situation, how grave it was. It was literally, I was fighting a battle for my life at that time, and while I was in this medical-induced coma, what's strange about it is the wild, vivid dreams and even hallucinations that I had going on this whole time. It was scary for me. Actually, the dreams and things that happened that I thought happened in these dreams. And the worst part about it too was, at one point, because they were afraid my throat was going to close, and they had me on a ventilator, they decided that they needed to put a temporary trach in. And the thing about it was, whenever I started getting better and getting well, I had to convince the doctors it was their final decision on whether they were going to take the trach out or put a permanent trach in, which I found, now that I look back on it, just fascinating that somebody else would make that decision for you,
Yeah.
But and again, my wife and family all were coming to say their goodbyes, and it was a rough, stressful time. My mother was staying with me when my wife couldn't. My wife was there most of the time. She worked and then actually drove an hour after she got off work every day to be with me and stay overnight when she could.
So after you took the shot, did it turn you around? I mean, when did you start to get well?
It was after the shot, and the antibiotics kept going. I mean, literally, they would 5 different antibiotics going through my body every day. But the thing with MRSA is, my understanding is, it's resistant to a lot of different antibiotics, and the trick is finding the right antibiotic to fight it off too.
So you got better out of the hospital basically by their treatment of you, correct?
By what now?
No, when you got better from being in the hospital, you didn't take any cannabis oil while you were in the hospital, right?
No, I knew nothing about cannabis oil.
Okay.
That time.
So you made it through this, and then when did you start using the cannabis oil? And why?
Okay. What happened is, let me finish off on that part to lead into the cannabis soil. What happened was when they released me from the hospital, there were several of the inhalers that I was on that posed a greater risk for catching pneumonia. And these doctors, my pneumonia was so bad that time, they were afraid for me to take those inhalers anymore. So they knocked a couple of inhalers off that I was taking. So I went home and, just it wasn't getting better. I mean, I was getting better from my coma, but I was still battling COPD. And I just decided, there's got to be another option out there. There's got to be some other way to deal with this. And I started networking on Facebook, and I joined, lots of COPD groups. And then all of a sudden one day, another COPD patient in a group, in kind of a casual way, mentioned that she cured her COPD with cannabis oil. And once I got that statement from her, that was all it took. Then I started researching on Google and everywhere I could think of about cannabis oil. And then by doing that, I actually started learning about the groups on Facebook. I actually searched Facebook and started finding cannabis oil groups and marijuana supporters and groups of that nature. And that's how I finally got to experience the healing nature of cannabis oil. I reached out to what turned out to be my caregiver and friend, supporter, Ronnie Smith, Roland Doobie, marijuana man.
Who's been on the show. Actually, we had Roland A. Doobie as a guest on February 28th. And yeah, so, Roland A. Doobie comes up again. And also, just so the listeners know, we just lost Roland A. Doobie. He just passed away, literally a week ago from today. And unfortunately, leukemia, they say it's leukemia, that it did come back. He was not using his, what he told me is he slacked off on taking his dosage the way he needed to, and that it returned. But again, I really feel that cannabis is causing people to get well and to go into remission. But again, just like every other type of treatment that we have, sometimes we just don't make it, And so Ronnie was your caregiver.
THCF Medical Clinics are the premier physicians clinic in the United States. THCF has offices all across the United States from Hawaii to Michigan. THCF Medical Clinics has helped approximately 150,000 patients obtain their medical marijuana permits to legally possess, grow, and use medical marijuana. If you have chronic pain, multiple sclerosis, or any other neurological degenerative disease, or if you have any gastrointestinal disorders such as GERD, irritable bowel syndrome, or if you have AIDS, cancer, spastic disorders, seizure disorders, or glaucoma, call us at 1-800-723-0188 or visit us online at hemp.org. Again, the number is 1-800-723-0188 and the site is hemp.org.
I don't know about you, but when I cultivate my clones, I want to give each and every one the best chance to grow into a mature, healthy plant. But after a few cloning cycles, I experienced decreased root density, slimy stems, or even worse, no roots at all. Growers know that reusing cloning collars results in failed clones. And cleaning cloning collars between grow cycles requires extra work and decreases root density. That's why I use PermaClone. PermaClone collars have been engineered to prevent failed clones by providing heat-sterilizable collars, which fit easy clone, turbo clone, or power cloner systems. PermaClone collars can be dry heat sterilized, pressure cooked, or autoclaved to completely kill all bacteria and fungi without harsh chemicals. Start cloning with confidence today and visit us at permaclone.com. Put in the code T for hemp with your order and receive a 10% discount on your purchase.
Indigrow is your source for affordable induction grow lighting. First discovered in 1891 by Nikola Tesla, Indigrow lights deliver 11 years of electronic sunlight to your plants. Indigrow lamps require less than half the power of traditional HID lamps. Converting to Indigrow lights means you'll cut down on your power bill with less lighting. Indigrow lamps also use 5 times less mercury than traditional fluorescent or HID lamps, making Indigrow not only energy efficient but environmentally friendly as well. No more switching out lamps between vegetative and flowering stages. As nature intended, your lights get a steady dose of UV light. That makes your plants grow healthier and stronger. Indigrow products are manufactured in San Diego, California, and come with a written 10-year warranty. What Tesla knew, then growers know now, is that Indigrow lighting is the cost-effective addition to your victory garden. To learn more or order now, go to inda-grow.com. That's INDA-GRO.com, or call 877-452-2244 to answer any of your questions. These guys really know lights. Indigrow really is your sunlight in a box.
Have you ever had a problem with overcooking your cannabis oil? You probably wanted to rip your hair out when you burned off all the THC, right? I even cried one time when my brownies failed to make a good impression at the party. Well, I stopped crying when I found Magical Butter. Magical Butter is a device with a microprocessor-controlled program sequencer. It was designed by a scientist and a chemist to precisely extract the benefits of various herbs. Magical Butter easily makes botanical butter, oils, tinctures, lotions, sauces, and more. Magical Butter heats your oil and your herbs at the perfect temperature every time. Check us out at magicalbutter.com because it's magical. Okay, there's a lot of science and chemistry involved, but it sure works like magic.
Education and information. See what all the buzz is all about. It's time for hemp. It's time for hemp.
Yes, and so he offered at that. He told me the prices, and again, just to be honest here about everything.
Yeah, you do.
My wife, again, is a sole supporter of our family. We have a teenage stepson, and she works in a grocery store. She's a deli manager. So we don't make a lot of money, you know. So he had told me what the prices were at that time, and I said, well, there's no way I can afford that. So he said, well, let me just send you a sample and see how it works for you. That's how it started. And when I first got the oil and took it, I mean, the first time I took it, immediately I just felt a lot calmer, just a lot better. My overall feeling in my body felt better. As I started taking it, and then I started out on a small, probably a quarter size, grain of rice size of oil on my tongue. And now as I increased my dose gradually. And as I've increased it, my health has came back. Now, I also need to say that diet is also very important in fighting any disease in your body. You do need to make diet and lifestyle changes, and that's very important. And to be honest, that's probably the hardest part of treating yourself and taking your own medical journey in your own hands is the diet. But in me being an Oklahoma redneck, actually, it's a little harder. But the good thing about being in Oklahoma, we love our vegetables. So that's one good thing. Fresh grown vegetables is good for you, and we're pretty good about eating those. But you can find little things here and there to incorporate into your diet and make subtle little changes here and there, and you'll be amazed at, with the oil and with exercise, the changes that you'll see in your overall body, your feeling, everything about your life, your outlook will be a lot better. Currently,
I have a question. I want to ask you on that. How quickly did you start to see relief after you started to take the oil? I mean, was it, did you feel better right away? I mean, for someone to listen to it, to hear, hear what you're saying. My question is, do you know what is the oil doing to your lungs? I mean, do you know, how it's affecting you? I mean, I mean, was it something where, I mean, did it just happen instantly, or like you took it, well, wow, I breathe a little bit easier, like taking a puffer, or was it something that just gradually opened up for you over time, and how long did that take for you?
To be honest, man, again, the feeling when I took the oil the first time was instantaneous. I felt better. But now, as far as building up exercise and getting off all big pharmaceutical medications, that took a little time. I would say took me probably a few weeks before I was totally off all medications, and I was walking actually too at that time, and I started walking a couple miles a day and increased, and now anytime, maybe even up to 5 miles a day of walking, just solid walking, not running, jogging, or anything, just walking. And I do that religiously, no matter what the weather is. When we had snow and ice, I was out there doing my walk and just enjoying the weather and getting the fresh air in my lungs. And I think one of the things that why it works so well is because, first of all, you start getting, there's pain that comes associated with COPD too that I need to address, that a lot of people don't realize that. It's the best way I've heard describe the pain is like an arthritis pain in your chest. And that took that pain away. So once that pain was away, it allowed me and made me feel better, and I wanted to get up and try to do things, and I wanted to move around. And by doing all that, within, like I said, a matter of weeks, I was able to get off all big pharmaceutical medications. What I do now is I do take a vitamin, and I do have to take an over-the-counter generic dollar brand mucus pill, but that's it. Aside from an occasional lead, but that's very, very far and few that I've taken a lead.
What is that? A lead. Okay. Yeah, you know what? I'm actually allergic to a leaf. I had a terrible reaction on that. But that's interesting. So right now you're not on any pharmaceuticals.
No pharmaceuticals whatsoever, thank God.
And this took, again, it took you. How long was it before you were completely off again of any other type of pharmaceuticals? Did you say a month or?
I would say a good month. Now, I do need to throw this in there. Now, during my recovery now, I did have a couple times when I got sick, but the good thing about it is, and the positive thing about that is, let me put this into perspective. When I got sick, I had a lung infection, I believe, and I was worried, really worried, because I lost some weight. And so we went to the hospital. Now, this hospital, again, that we went to is a local one that dismissed me whenever I had my near-fatal reaction to blood pressure medicine and pneumonia and all that a year ago. When I went there, they did blood work and chest x-ray, and they came back and told me my chest x-ray was clear. This is the same hospital that a year ago told me I had severe lung scarring. They also told me that my blood work was great, and they did not say anything to me about my blood pressure, so I'm assuming my blood pressure was great. And they basically told me I was healthy, sent me home. They did give me some, they said I had a slight, they said, I'm not saying you're not sick, but you may have a chest infection, so let me give you some Prednisone, which is steroid, which is common for COPD patients, and I had some antibiotics. First, they told me they were going to give me a breathing treatment and give me a prescription for an inhaler. I told them no. If you're going to do that, I've actually got that stuff at home. I can do that myself. So I said, just give me something for my cough, and I'll be out of here. So they ended up giving me some steroids and cough medicine with codeine in it. So I came home and took that, and within, I was on the steroid for a week maybe, and normally that would have been a hospital visit, a hospital stay, not just a hospital visit, and I would have been in bad shape. But I was able to rebound very quickly, bounce back this time for the first time in 5 years since I've had the official diagnosis, and got well and got over the hump and was fine and back to my usual walking and everyday chores.
Jeff, I'm going to go back a little bit on something with what you mentioned. When you went back to the doctor and they said, okay, before you went to them and they were you had scarring and terrible lungs, and then they said your lungs are clear. Are you saying that the scars didn't exist anymore, or what does that really mean?
Well, what I'm saying is,
okay, Jeff, you need to get closer to the microphone.
I'm sorry.
You need to go. You need to every time you're sometimes you drop off from the phone.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, just make sure that you keep it close to you, because if you move away, we can't hear anything that you say.
Right. Well, here's what I'm saying about the hospital and the doctors. Take it as a grain of salt, because again, this hospital is the same one that did not admit me a year ago, and I had to go to a bigger hospital, a bigger city, for somebody to actually admit me in the hospital and see I was 24 hours away from death. But this hospital a year ago told me I had, by looking at the chest X-ray, severe lung scarring, which was a result of my smoking over the years. That's not supposed to go away normally.
Yeah.
I've never heard of it going away, to be honest with you. But whenever I went back, when I had the little lung infection a few months ago, and went to that hospital, they took a chest lung X-ray again, and they told me my lungs were clear and looked good. So, again, we don't know for sure if they even know what they're talking about, but that's what they tell me.
I mean, I just find it interesting. Well, it's clear and it looks good. I mean, that's kind of a vague statement in the sense. Like I'm curious to find out, if the actual scarring is any different. Like right now, you're not on any medication. So what is it that's going on with your body right now that has improved? Like where's the where is the difference there?
Yeah, and they made part of my plan or my journey here is to get some documented medical evidence. And the problem with that is because of the COPD, I wasn't able to work anymore. I lost my insurance, and of course, and
how did you lose your insurance?
Because I couldn't work anymore. I got so sick that just talking on the phone like this, I would have been out of breath, hitting inhalers, oxygen on, the whole 9 yards. So I couldn't work anymore. So because of that, I lost insurance. Government, unfortunately, to get Medicaid, at least in my area, in Oklahoma, unless you have minor children, or you're a single woman with minor children, they're not going to give you Medicaid. So the government wouldn't give me insurance. I couldn't afford, I didn't have any income, couldn't afford any private insurance. And so that's where it stood and where I stand now with it too. But part of what I'm doing, also have a GoFundMe.
If I can ask, what about Obamacare? I mean, would you be able to apply for Obamacare at this point?
Well, let me tell you about what scares me about Obamacare. When you go to their website, before you can actually search their plans and get enrolled, you have to agree to every kind of background check that you can think of, which to me, I don't like the government snooping around my whole background and taking my whole information. I'm just kind of leery about that myself.
Like what kind of background? Like what kind of background are they asking?
Security check, credit check, IRS check, there was Social Security check, all of that. They want to check every federal branch on you, and for me, I'm just a little leery about that.
So you're just choosing not to do it.
What's that?
You're just choosing not to do Obamacare.
Right. And okay. I did go to the website, and first of all, I had several problems with the website, never being able to get on and search. And then whenever I did get to a point where I could even search to find out, the website went down on me. So, and I haven't tried again. And again, just the fact that just to be able to search their plans, you have to agree to all those background checks. just really bothers me and worries me.
And your checking account.
Okay, that was you're hearing a voice from somebody that's not supposed to be talking yet.
Sorry, I'm sorry. I apologize. Oh.
Yeah, that's Dino Dad 32 is also on the line, and we're going to bring him up on the second segment of the show. But I suppose the show is that interesting that you feel compelled to like just burst out and say something, Dino.
Oh, when you talk about Obamacare, I have to chime in.
Right.
So, sorry.
You know what? I mean, I just find it interesting that Jeff, even though he has been so sick and was canceled by his own insurance while he was ill, which I think, by the way, is just disgusting. Okay, it's just my opinion. I just think that's the shittiest thing to have happen to us. Excuse me for saying that. It's surprising to me, and it's interesting to me that Jeff is deciding to not even go with Obamacare, even though he's somebody who could really use, a program that Obama claims to be, and in which they apparently it looks like they're not. So, no, Jeff, yes.
The Obamacare and here's the sad part. Let's be honest about it. I was a hard-working young man, making good money, paying taxes, taking care of my family, doing what society said I should do, taking all the medications that the doctor said I should take, spending money. I apologize, a train in the background. Anyway, whenever I got sick, as a man, the government there was no help. There's no help there. Now, I will say this. In my local county area that I'm in, it's kind of a rural, poor area, and there are a couple free health clinics that are run by churches here who, they can't give you pain medication and things like that, but they can treat you with antibiotics and what medications they had donated to them, apparently. But that's the only place I was able to find help at. The government certainly didn't want to help me at all, which was appalling,
I'm actually Dino and I got a little bit distracted there because I was pissed off when he came in. He doesn't want to mess with the radio mistress. That's right. I've got my whip. Damn it. Jeff, I have a couple questions here. We're getting down to a little bit end of this hour coming on, but you are using the cannabis oil, and how much is that costing you for that treatment? What is that more? I mean, is Cannabis Care more compassionate than Obamacare?
Let me tell you what I found from the cannabis community. The compassion and care and the advice, treatment, everything you can think of within the cannabis community is totally different from what you find from Obamacare, government, your medical doctors, any of that. My oil, because of my financial situation, has been donated to me by caring, compassionate individuals who only want to see you get better. And that literally is how I've been able to get the oil at this point. Now, my hope in the future is to be able to grow my own and make my own, which if you look on YouTube, there are lots of videos on how you can make your own. And that's actually the safest way to go because you know exactly what...
Welcome back to the Freedom of Joy show on Revolution Radio. Thank you so much for listening. Also, I just want to let you know we are in the second hour. Again, we are listener supported. All of us are volunteers here, and keep us going here on the network. And go to our website at freedomslips.com and give us a donation. Keep us going. Also, if you check out our website, you can see all kinds of different little packages that you can get, different seeds. and just please do give us a donation, and we thank you for doing it already. With me is Jeff Waters, who is a COPD patient that has had remarkable results in healing himself with cannabis oil, and we're going to get back to his story in just a moment. But right now, I'd like to introduce Dino Dad 32 to give us the Freedom Report. Thank you for being here, Dino.
Good afternoon, Madam Joyce. We bow in your presence. How you doing, Terry?
I'm doing great.
Great to be.
It's one of those days, though, that things are kind of like missing, connecting for me. So I have a little bit of offness going, but I'm dealing with it.
You don't sound off. You sound right on the money as always.
Okay, all right.
Right on the money. Okay, let's get started. In current events, a lot of people on the interwebs are talking about what's happening at the Bundy Ranch.
Yes.
It's hard to explain what's going on there. You explained it really well early in the show. Did you notice you did not see word one of this big event on mainstream media?
I was curious about that. I don't watch a whole lot of mainstream. You looked. Okay, so they're not covering it.
They're not covering it. Of course they're not covering it. They don't cover the important stories. They just cover the stories that will sell the news. And they don't give you the whole story. They give you the exciting part of the story. They don't explain everything. We have to be very leery about what you hear in the news. I think, when I listen to news in Europe, it's very different than what we get here. If you can get a feed from satellite radio, you get BBC Britain, not BBC America. You get a whole different report and a whole different view on things. But anyway, the subject for today is freedom. The Freedom Report is about thinking different. Freedom. Free your mind from the Matrix. The movie The Matrix was really ahead of its time when it came out. It may be more than just a movie, but it may be a warning to all of us. They had many amazing points in that movie, and it's very relevant in today's society. Relevant, can I say that? One thing that was really great in the movie is the character Morpheus and what he had to say, played by Lawrence Fishburne. He said, you have to understand, most people are not ready to unplug. They are dependent on the system. No matter how bad it is, they will fight to protect it. You think that's, about how the people think today, with their mindset. You see that even when people know they are in prison, they are scared to change. Now, I hear that idea, that mindset in the movie years later, and I thought, wow, they were really right on the money back then in 1999, 15 years later. This is exactly what we have to teach, or what they are teaching the kids in school today. They teach you, repeat what we tell you, stand in line. Do as everyone else is doing. Don't throw outside the box. We have been taught a certain way our whole lives, and most people cannot see beyond that way of thinking. Terry, I don't know if you knew, my grandfather was in Auschwitz. And I often think about the people marching into the gas chambers. I'm sure there were some people that said no. I would imagine there were two types of people in the line at the death camps. The first said, hey, can't you see they're going to kill us? We have to do something about this situation right now. And there was the majority, the second group of people that said, keep moving, don't hold up the line, you are making problems. This is what people actually said. Most of the people that marched into the gas chambers, they did it willingly and freely. Understand our freedom. Understand your freedom. Did you know, Terry, that most of the people in the world are sheep? Only 3% of the people in the world are the movers and shakers. Most of us, I have to say, are the sheep today who say, don't rock the boat, stay the course, don't worry, they know what they're doing, and we blindly stand by our leaders no matter how corrupt or wrong. We clearly see they are. This is the mindset I'm talking about. This is exactly what I hear from people all the time. When I talk to my friends about the Fed and what's going on, they always say the same thing. What can you do about it? It's been that way for a long time. We can never change anything. Terry, the Fed, the Federal Reserve, it's the greatest monetary crime ever perpetrated against the American people, don't you think? Most people don't even realize how badly we're being ripped off, not just here in America, but in Europe. I urge people, please read the book, The Creature from Jekyll Island, A Second Look at the Federal Reserve. It's available for free download on the interwebs. The Creature from Jekyll Island. Please read it. It's all about the Federal Reserve, and it'll change your life. And that's Dino Dad 32's Freedom Report for today. Please find Dino at dinodad32.com. Thank you, Terry.
Well, thank you, Dino. That was a really wonderful report. And, I love your analogy about the Matrix. And, there are going to be some people that are not going to want to unplug from it, and they'll do anything to perpetuate the system in which they live in. It kind of goes along with what I was saying a little bit this morning when, I talk to, people in my personal life, and I go, look, for example, a lot of people were posting, on some of the forums that I'm in, what was happening with Bundy Ranch. But when I reposted it on Facebook on my own timeline, not anything that's associated with people who are actually looking for those subject matters, hardly anybody liked it. 2 people, hardly anybody had a reaction, not a comment, nothing. I mean, here's these pictures of federal agents, and you can see it in the thumbnail and the headline of everything, and yet nobody made a response. Now, I post a picture of myself, and I get 50 likes in a day, or I mention, hey, I'm having, I'm drinking wine in a plastic cup, cheers, and people will make comments and love that. But you put something out there where it's like, look, wake up, they're coming for you. They're coming for us, maybe. Nobody wants to acknowledge that. And I find that it's almost like I feel, now I don't know, I might be just putting more into it than it is, but I mean, and again, it's only a meme or it's only a posting, it doesn't really matter, but every time I post something about a topic like that, on my own personal timeline, it seems to get overlooked as if I had not even mentioned anything at all. Now, are people clicking on it and they're so freaked out that they can't leave a comment? Or is it just it's like almost like white noise going past them? Their brain doesn't even it can't even compute it right now because they're so stuffed with pharmaceuticals and TV and aspartame in their brain. Is that what's going on, or is it just so disturbing that part of us just shut it out because we can't even deal with it?
I don't know what's wrong with people. People on Facebook are sheep. I stopped posting the important stuff, the scary stuff on Facebook because people aren't ready for it. I don't know why. It's hard to talk to people about what's really going on. I post on Google Plus now, and people are responding there to what I have to say. But honestly, I keep this stuff away from my family, my friends, the people on Facebook, and you got to find a certain people that you can talk to and shake them and say, hey, do you know how much money we owe to the Federal Reserve? If you stop the average person on the street, you think they care? Oh, that's the way it is,
Most people now, if you ask them about the Federal Reserve, they think that it's owned by us. They don't know that it's a private institution.
Owned bank.
Right.
There's 12 people that own this bank, and they are making billions and billions of dollars off this bank. And the worst part is, did you know that no government entity can ever enter or monitor the Federal Reserve? We have no accountability of the Federal Reserve. It's illegal for any federal agency, the police, the fire department. They have their own police and fire department, the FBI, CIA, National Security. No one is allowed in the building, and we can never audit their books. And they have trillions of dollars on their accounts that we don't know about, and we cannot. Actually, there's a private bank that we cannot monitor. There's actually a law against anybody entering the building, any government agency. So they are completely immune to everything. And people don't know. They're a privately owned bank. There's a few people that own it, and it's the greatest ripoff of all times. When people realize what they're doing, they're just taking the money from the Treasury, transferring it to government and banks, and charging us a 3% interest on that money. And as our guest last week said so wisely, so they lend us $1 and charge us $1.05. So how are we going to pay back that dollar? We have to borrow another $1, and now we owe $2.10. That was a fantastic analogy last week. What was the name of our fantastic guest?
Jesse Smallberg was with us last week.
Yeah, he's my Facebook friend now. I could talk to him.
Yeah. He's my Facebook friend, too.
He's great. He was amazing.
And, with us today is Jeff Waters. Welcome to the show, Jeff.
Thank you.
All right. Jeff, we were talking about Obamacare. You mentioned, that you did not want to sign up for Obamacare. Now, Dino, do you have anything that you want to say about that, about the Obamacare situation? I mean, I find it interesting that your reaction to the questioning and what you feel Obamacare is really all about, you're just not choosing to do it, even though you would really need it. So, what is your alternative choice, Jeff?
Unfortunately, alternative choice, the only alternative choice I have here for somebody with no insurance to get quality medical treatment, there is a clinic. You don't see a doctor, you see a physician's assistant, and they'll go by your salary. So if you have no income, it comes out to about a $30 office visit, just to have a consultation with the doctor. And then, of course, once you get in that room, if they find anything wrong, then they're going to want to bring out that prescription pad so they can make some more dollars for the big pharmaceutical companies. But that's where I'm at now. There's no insurance out there that fits me.
So in terms of, and I want to ask you, and I don't know if maybe if you can even divulge this information to people, but I'm curious, and but why not? I mean, everything at some point has a cost to it, and there is the plant costs money, making the oil costs money, the process, whatever. What is the going rate of your treatment? I mean, like, how much cannabis oil do you consume to maintain your health, and then how much is that basically costing you? Can I ask that?
Yeah, it's basically I right now using about, I would say, a gram, probably maybe 2 grams a month right now, maybe a gram every 2 weeks, which is a fairly low dose, but it's I fight it.
Low. A gram. You said a gram a week?
No, a gram every 2 weeks.
A gram every 2 weeks. Wow, that's really low.
Yes, it is. Yes, definitely. I started out on a gram, which back to your question, a gram goes for anywhere from $30 to $50. And when I first started out, I was even making a gram last a full month. But I up my dose now. And one very important thing I want to touch on cannabis oil too that I've found now is there's different strains of cannabis. You have indica and sativa, and they both have different effects on your body. One that gives you more energy, and one is a little more relaxing. And what I'm planning to incorporate into my treatment next week is including oil from both of those plants. So in other words, the sativa in the morning I could take, which would give me energy all day to exercise and clean house, chores, whatever I want to do. And that night I could take the indica oil, which gives you a more laid-back, peaceful, relaxing feeling, and relax on that in the evening time. And that's my plan for next week. It'd be the first time I'll be able to actually do that. I'll have a gram of each of those supplied to me. And that'll be a new journey for me to actually be able to use both of those strains at one time.
That's interesting to combine both of them, and it'd be interesting to see. I'd like to stay in touch with you and find out what your assessment is on if it's different or how does it affect your body. I mean, because there's so much about this plant that we're learning, and it's interesting that we're at a point where oh God, excuse me. I'm sorry.
Bless you, Terry.
Hey, you're not supposed to be speaking. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, I am apologizing.
I'm just joking. You can come in any time.
God bless you. Do you have to say God bless you to your cat when he sneezes? I mean, is his soul going to go to hell? I don't know. Go ahead. I'm throwing you off.
What was that? You have to say bless you when what sneezes?
My cat sneezes in the room, and I always say God bless you to him. Then I think, what an idiot. He barely goes to church. I mean, I'm sorry. I'm not even sure what religion he is. He might be Jewish. I might have to put, I don't know.
He could be an atheist.
Oh, God forbid. I think he's agnostic. He has expressed that point.
He's agnostic. Oh, another train's happening.
Oh, yeah, I get those trains too, but they just go through my mind. You know, I got a train just like that right near my house. It's not that close to my house, but, you know, I'm videotaping on my website or on my YouTube channel, Dad 32. And, you know, I always hear the train in the background. It drives me nuts, you know. So I get that too.
Wow.
But Obamacare.
Well, you know, I mean, and like, why not? I mean, to me, it sounds a lot cheaper and less expensive to grow a plant and make some cannabis oil out of it and do a sativa and an indica and mix them together and have treatment than Obamacare. I'm sorry, but if I had an option right now, I think I'm going to go rogue with the plant. And Jeff, you know, if you did not have this plant in your life, then do you feel that you wouldn't be here today?
My quality of life would not be what it is today. And, you know, I want to say, too, that, you know, I think it's just totally wrong that cannabis, a plant that you can grow naturally out of the soil of the earth, is not legal. It's not an option that you can walk into your physician's office and speak openly about, and even have your physician say, here, this is what you need to try. Try cannabis oil. You know, or cannabis, for that matter. You know, for different conditions, you could treat different conditions by smoking it, you know. And it should be an option. And that's another important part of my message is people really need to just take my story and the information we've talked about and talking about today and research for themselves and make an educated decision on how to treat whatever illness you have. And don't be an idiot about it. I'm never saying that if I'm, you know, got the flu or pneumonia or a cold or something, that I'm not going to treat it with an antibiotic or something like that. There are times when your body needs those things, but for the most part, I'm very careful now, especially with my experience in the hospital and what got me in the hospital. I'm very careful now about what I put in my body. And for me, just for me personally, pharmaceutical drugs that you have to take to maintain, you know, your health, that have side effects to them, sometimes that are worse than the actual disease or illness that you have. For me, I just try to stay away from that myself. I try to stay natural. And for that part, if I'm having an illness or a cold or anything like that, before I rush off to a doctor's office, I search online and see what natural treatment options are available and what I can eat and put in my diet that will help me to fight that illness.
There's a product out there. It's called, I don't know if you've seen it before. They're one of the advertisers on the Time for Hemp Network, and it's called Magical Butter.
Have you ever had a problem with overcooking your cannabis oil? You probably wanted to rip your hair out when you burned off all the THC, right? I even cried one time when my brownies failed to make a good impression at the party. Well, I stopped crying when I found Magical Butter. Magical Butter is a device with a microprocessor-controlled program sequencer. It was designed by a scientist and a chemist to precisely extract the benefits of various herbs. Magical Butter easily makes botanical butter, oils, tinctures, lotions, sauces, and more. Magical Butter heats your oil and your herbs at the perfect temperature every time. Check us out at magicalbutter.com because it's magical. Okay, there's a lot of science and chemistry involved, but it sure works like magic.
If you are in the Portland, Oregon area and are an OMMP card holder, then come down to Nikki's Diggity Dank Market, Portland, Oregon's first and only weekly OMMP market, presented by the Alternative Wellness Center, located at 5241 Southeast 72nd Avenue, 2 blocks south of Foster Boulevard, close to public transportation, held every Sunday 10 a.m. till 7 p.m., connecting quality vendors with patients. Nikki's Diggity Dank Market also also has a weekly raffle with products from every vendor. So come down to Nikki's Diggity Dank Market and have fun while connecting with quality vendors and getting great natural medicine. If you are a vendor and want a chance to connect with OMMP patients, you can check out their Facebook page at facebook.com/Alternative Wellness Center or call 971-888-4392. Be sure to register early because space is limited. Nikki's Diggity Dank Market.
I don't know about you, but when I cultivate my clones, I want to give each and every one the best chance to grow into a mature, healthy plant. But after a few cloning cycles, I experienced decreased root density, slimy stems, or even worse, no roots at all. Growers know that reusing cloning collars results in failed clones. And cleaning cloning collars between grow cycles requires extra work and decreases root density. That's why I use PermaClone. PermaClone collars have been engineered to prevent failed clones by providing heat-sterilizable collars which fit easy clone, turbo clone, or power cloner systems. PermaClone collars can be dry heat sterilized, pressure cooked, or autoclaved to completely kill all bacteria and fungi without harsh chemicals. Start cloning with confidence today and visit us at permaclone.com. Put in the code T for hemp with your order and receive a 10% discount on your purchase.
Headshot Canada. Based in Saskatchewan, Canada, it is shaking up the medical cannabis industry. Headshot Canada helps Canadian citizens in getting a medical marijuana license. They do this by filling out the paperwork. They also help explain your needs to your doctor and also help find the right strain for your condition. For this service, Headshot Canada charges a nominal fee of $100 and your participation in a research and development study to test the effectiveness of different cannabis strains on various medical conditions. Owner and founding farmer Tim Selinsky wants every Canadian to know that you have the universal right to a marijuana license. Unlike Compassion Clubs, Headshot Canada's goal is to get the right strain of cannabis for the ailment at a fair flat rate price for the patient no matter the strain. Headshot Canada offers 57 strains of cannabis grown at family-owned farms in Saskatchewan as opposed to Canadian federal government's one strain of irradiated garbage grown in a lab. Go to headshopcanada.com.
Free? Did you say free? Free hemp? Free hemp? Free hemp video and audio? Free downloads of all the top artists, all the pot artists on planet Earth. Interviews with all the people making the movement, making the hemp movement. It's time for hemp. That's right, world. It's time for hemp. That's right, world. It's time for hemp.
magicalbutter.com, and it's a machine that infuses your cannabis oil or your cannabis, it makes your cannabis into an oil, as well as other herbs into an oil as well. And the philosophy that they have is that you treat yourself naturally first. And then afterwards, if that doesn't work, then you resort to going to Western medicine, or you do Western medicine. So not like the way saying, like, well, Western medicine doesn't have anything to offer us. And again, I think I want to make sure that that I don't seem that way either, that going to a doctor doesn't serve a purpose, or that the American Medical Association or doctors, or they have no validity. But I will say this. I don't trust them anymore, and I do whatever I can to keep myself out of the doctor's office. And definitely, that's why I have you on as a guest, because I'm interested in exploring and finding out different ways that we can heal our bodies. I believe that we naturally can heal ourselves. We can do it with all kinds of different practices, not just using cannabis. It has to do with, how we detox ourselves, how we're eating, the plants and the herbs that we can take into our body, our thoughts, healing ourselves just by our thoughts and our emotional state. I'm into researching sound and light healing. There's so many things, the different meridians, the pressure points in our body. I mean, to think that our body's electrical and that we actually extend much farther than we see in our physical self, and it's all connected, our interdimensional body, everything. There's a lot of things that are ancient that we may always have known, and yet we have lost our way in not only taking responsibility for our own health and our own research, but just giving the power over to something that doesn't really intend to heal us. I really feel, again, if you're talking about like what Agenda 21 is or depopulation, population control, my feeling is that since I've been involved with cannabis, since I've looked at healthcare, since I've looked into all these different things, with what we are beginning to find out, what we're learning. I mean, I don't know how many people. I'm on my soapbox right now, but I'm passionate about this. I don't know how many people I know personally, or that I've had on, say, the Hollywood Hemptress Hour show, that they are alive today. They would not be alive today if they had not taken their cannabis oil or started this kind of treatment. The doctor told them, get your affairs in order. You're not going to make it. You need to, you have so amount of time that we predict that you're not going to be here. And I know these people. They're healthy today. They're pioneers in the cannabis plant, and they're laughing. They're in joy, and this is what's happening. And I don't understand if just one person makes it. Why doesn't this make national news? Why don't the books break open and we go, oh my God, there's a cure, there's a cure, there's a cure? Why? We not only have we been suppressed, but we get arrested and killed. I mean, it goes on and on. Just completely shut down, shamed, told blatant lies in the mainstream media, and this is what I feel is really going on. It makes no sense to me. And so I just say, like what you're doing, you're growing it, you're healthy, you're living your life, and you're hoping to go back to work. And I think that's really, really wonderful. Now, Dino really wants to bring in some stuff on Obamacare. And so, what would you like to say about, and also in relation to what he's going through? What would you like to say about Obamacare?
Well, last week we talked about Obamacare, and I think you really hit the nail on the head with Obamacare. It's, there's money involved in it. When you equate money with people, you can't say, well, Grandma Miller here, she's not worth the $50,000 test we got to give her. You can't equate one with the other. I mean, is the police department going out and saying, well, it's going to be too much money for us to save this person? Is the fire department saying it's going to cost us too much to save this building? You can't equate, medicine with money. And also, it's socialism. It's kind of in between both. And there's some kind of ruse, some kind of, plot, something that's in Obamacare that we don't understand, that we don't see yet. Like Jeff was saying, he didn't want all his personal information, being, out there. And also, when you sign up for Obamacare, they're connected to your checking and savings account, and they know how much money you have. And the IRS knows how much money you have. This is the worst thing ever in our country. Imagine that, like the IRS can actually look into your bank account. Do you realize that? Do you see that, Terry, that this is just so many bad things in Obamacare that we don't even realize yet? We don't see what it really is. It's in disguise right now. Don't you think, Terry?
Well, I do. I'm suspicious of it. I mean, to be honest with you, I haven't really signed up for it yet. I'm dragging my feet. I watch some of my other friends, talk about it or make postings, and some of my friends are really pro, like, oh, I got here and I did all this lab work, and, I got these meds and a pap smear and a mammogram, and, oh, you got to sign up, this is great, this is great, this is great. So, I hear one side of it. I mean, one of the things is that I'm concerned about is like, well, what kind of choices do I have here? If I get really, really, let's say I got really, really, really sick and I needed to go to the hospital, to show up at the hospital and they go, do you have Obamacare? And then to say no, I feel like they're going to look at me and go, look, this is free healthcare for you. It's not really free. There's nothing really free, but people believe that it's free, and they perceive that anybody who talks against Obamacare, well, then you're just a Republican, or you're a Tea Partier, or you want small government. And Hemptress Hour. Sorry, I keep saying that tonight. I actually sometimes the brain just wants to rewire itself, and something else comes out of my mouth, which is weird. But Hollywood Hemptress Hour is a show that I do on the Time for Hemp Network, and I think it's because the subject matter is about cannabis. I keep wanting to say that I'm on Hollywood Hemptress Hour, but I'm actually on Freedom of Joyce. Either way, I'm Terry Joyce. I'm your host. And this is the Freedom of Joyce show on Revolution Radio. And so thank you so much for listening. With me is Jeff Waters, who is a cannabis patient, and he has. Do you say you cured your COPD? Is that how you rephrase it? I mean, how do you? Is that what you're posting to people?
I'm sorry. What was the question again?
Do you term it as? I mean, are you saying that that cannabis has cured your COPD?
I don't want to right now say it's cured it. I am saying that it is curing it. I'm not saying right at this point that I know or believe for a fact right now that I'm totally free of COPD, but I believe I will be. That's for sure.
Well, I believe you will be too, and I was excited to have you on the show today, and for you to talk about the subject matter, so that other people who might be out there that are suffering with COPD or for other diseases, that they will research cannabis and find out more information on it. Where do you think people should go to if they want to? If they have COPD, can they contact you someplace, or are there certain websites that are supportive?
The best way to reach me is either through Facebook, which my name is Jeff Waters. I'm on Facebook. I'm pretty easy to find. And also, I have a GoFundMe page, which I'm using their donations to pay for when I get to the point, that's my next step in the journey, is actually to get in there and do the breathing tests and compare my results from last breathing test I did and see where I'm at, and get the chest x-ray and the blood work and all that stuff done and have it documented. And that's expensive. And that's part of where my GoFundMe is for, is also for that. And also, because, again, I have no insurance, no income, and the oil is my only medication right now. I have met some amazing people who have donated it to me, but there are also others out there that need it. And I'm trying to also raise the funds so I don't take away a donation of oil for a cancer patient or somebody else who needs it so badly. So I'm hoping to get some support and some funds that way to be a little more self-sufficient in that area and to help others. And also I have an email, jeffwaters1972@gmail.com. So that's ways to reach me. As far as researching it, my story is out there on several websites, so I'm actually flattered now that I'm on Google. If you type in my name, Jeff Waters, and COPD, you'll find several sites that have my story on there. If you want to research COPD and cannabis oil, that would also be a good tool. Google those two words and start reading up on it and see what you have. There's also many groups on Facebook that you can search.
All right, we lost you there a little bit, Jeff.
No, a gram every 2 weeks.
A gram every 2 weeks. Wow, that's really low.
Yes, it is. Yes, definitely. I started out on a gram, which, back to your question, a gram goes for anywhere from $30 to $50. And when I first started out, I was even making a gram last a full month. But I up my dose now. And one very important thing I want to touch on cannabis oil too that I've found now is there's different strains of cannabis. You have indica and sativa, and they both have different effects on your body. One that gives you more energy, and one is a little more relaxing. And what I'm planning to incorporate into my treatment next week is including oil from both of those plants. So in other words, the sativa in the morning I could take, which would give me energy all day to exercise and clean house, chores, whatever I want to do. And that night I could take the indica oil, which gives you a more laid-back, peaceful, relaxing feeling, and relax on that in the evening time. And that's my plan for next week. It'd be the first time I'll be able to actually do that. I'll have a gram of each of those supplied to me. And that'll be a new journey for me to actually be able to use both of those strains at one time.
That's interesting to combine both of them, and it'd be interesting to see. I'd like to stay in touch with you and find out what your assessment is on if it's different or how does it affect your body. I mean, because there's so much about this plant that we're learning, and it's interesting that we're at a point where oh God. Excuse me. I'm sorry.
Bless you, Terry.
Okay,
Sometimes.
Hey, you're not supposed to be speaking. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, I am apologizing.
I'm just joking. You can come in any time.
God bless you. Do you have to say God bless you to your cat when he sneezes? I mean, is his soul going to go to hell? I don't know. Go ahead. I'm throwing you off.
What was that? You have to say bless you when what sneezes?
My cat sneezes in the room, and I always say God bless you to him. Then I think, what an idiot. He barely goes to church. I mean, I'm sorry. I'm not even sure what religion he is. He might be Jewish. I might have to I don't know.
He could be an atheist.
Oh, God forbid. I think he's agnostic. He has expressed that point.
He's agnostic. Oh, another train's happening.
Oh, yeah, I get those trains, too, but they just go through my mind. You know, I got a train just like that right near my house. It's not that close to my house, but, I'm videotaping on my website or on my YouTube channel, Dad 32. And, I always hear the train in the background. It drives me nuts, So I get that, too. Wow. But Obamacare.
Well, and why not? I mean, to me, it sounds a lot cheaper and less expensive to grow a plant and make some cannabis oil out of it and do a sativa and an indica and mix them together and have treatment than Obamacare. I'm sorry, but if I had an option right now, I think I'm going to go rogue with the plant. And Jeff, how many, if you did not have this plant in your life, then do you feel that you wouldn't be here today?
My quality of life would not be what it is today. And, I want to say, too, that, I think it's just totally wrong that cannabis, a plant that you can grow naturally out of the soil of the earth, is not legal. It's not an option that you can walk into your physician's office and speak openly about, and even have your physician say, here, this is what you need to try. Try cannabis oil. Or cannabis, for that matter. For different conditions, you could treat different conditions by smoking it, and it should be an option. And that's another important part of my message is people really need to just take my story and the information we've talked about and talking about today and research for themselves and make an educated decision on how to treat whatever illness you have. And don't be an idiot about it. I'm never saying that if I'm, got the flu or pneumonia or a cold or something, that I'm not going to treat it with an antibiotic or something like that. There are times when your body needs those things. But for the most part, I'm very careful now, especially with my experience in the hospital and what got me in the hospital. I'm very careful now about what I put in my body.
THCF Medical Clinics are the premier physicians clinic in the United States. THCF has offices all across the United States from Hawaii to Michigan. THCF Medical Clinics has helped approximately 150,000 patients obtain their medical marijuana permits to legally possess, grow, and use medical marijuana. If you have chronic pain, multiple sclerosis, or any other neurological degenerative disease, or if you have any gastric gastrointestinal disorders such as GERD, irritable bowel syndrome, or if you have AIDS, cancer, spastic disorders, seizure disorders, or glaucoma, call us at 1-800-723-0188 or visit us online at hemp.org. Again, the number is 1-800-723-0188 and the site is hemp.org.
I don't know about you, but when I cultivate my clones, I want to give each and every one the best chance to grow into a mature, healthy plant. But after a few cloning cycles, I experienced decreased root density, slimy stems, or even worse, no roots at all. Growers know that reusing cloning collars results in failed clones. And cleaning cloning collars between grow cycles requires extra work and decreases root density. That's why I use PermaClone. PermaClone collars have been engineered to prevent failed clones by providing heat-sterilizable collars, which fit easy clone, turbo clone, or power cloner systems. PermaClone collars can be dry heat sterilized, pressure cooked, or autoclaved to completely kill all bacteria and fungi without harsh chemicals. Start cloning with confidence today and visit us at permaclone.com. Put in the code T4Hemp with your order and receive a 10% discount on your purchase.
Indigrow is your source for affordable induction grow lighting. First discovered in 1891 by Nikola Tesla, Indigrow lights deliver 11 years of electronic sunlight to your plants. Indigrow lamps require less than half the power of traditional HID lamps. Converting to Indigrow lights means you'll cut down on your power bill with less lighting. Indigrow lamps also use 5 times less mercury than traditional fluorescent or HID lamps, making Indigrow not only energy efficient but environmentally friendly as well. No more switching out lamps between vegetative and flowering stages. As nature intended, your lights get a steady dose of UV light. That makes your plants grow healthier and stronger. Indigrow products are manufactured in San Diego, California, and come with a written 10-year warranty. What Tesla knew, then growers know now, is that Indigrow lighting is the cost-effective addition to your victory garden. To learn more or order now, go to inda-grow.com. That's INDA-GRO.com, or call 877-452-2244 to answer any of your questions. These guys really know lights. Indigrow really is your sunlight in a box.
Have you ever had a problem with overcooking your cannabis oil? You probably wanted to rip your hair out when you burned off all the THC, right? I even cried one time when my brownies failed to make a good impression at the party. Well, I stopped crying when I found Magical Butter. Magical Butter is a device with a microprocessor-controlled program sequencer. It was designed by a scientist and a chemist to precisely extract the benefits of various herbs. Magical Butter easily makes botanical butter, oils, tinctures, lotions, sauces, and more. Magical Butter heats your oil and your herbs at the perfect temperature every time. Check us out at magicalbutter.com because it's magical. Okay, there's a lot of science and chemistry involved, but it sure works like magic.
Education and information. See what all the buzz is all about. It's time for hemp. It's time for hemp.
And for me, just for me personally, pharmaceutical drugs that you have to take to maintain, your health, that have side effects to them, sometimes that are worse than the actual disease or illness that you have. For me, that's just no. I just try to stay away from that myself. I try to stay natural. And for that part, if I'm having an illness or a cold or anything like that, before I rush off to a doctor's office, I search online and see what natural treatment options are available and what I can eat and put in my diet that will help me to fight that illness.
There's a product out there. It's called, I don't know if you've seen it before. They're one of the advertisers on the Time for Hemp network, and it's called Magical Butter, magicalbutter.com, and it's a machine that infuses your cannabis oil or your cannabis into an oil, as well as other herbs into an oil as well. And the philosophy that they have is that you treat yourself naturally first, And then afterwards, if that doesn't work, then you resort to going to Western medicine, or you do Western medicine. So not that we're saying like, well, Western medicine doesn't have anything to offer us. And again, I think I want to make sure that I don't seem that way either, that going to a doctor doesn't serve a purpose, or that the American Medical Association or doctors, or they have no validity. But I will say this. I don't trust them anymore, and I do whatever I can to keep myself out of the doctor's office. And I'm definitely, that's why I have you on as a guest, because I'm interested in exploring and finding out different ways that we can heal our bodies. I believe that we naturally can heal ourselves. We can do it with all kinds of different practices, not just using cannabis. It has to do with, how we detox ourselves, how we're eating, the plants and the herbs that we can take into our body, our thoughts, healing ourselves just by our thoughts and our emotional state. I'm into researching sound and light healing. There's so many things, the different meridians, the pressure points in our body. I mean, to think that our body's electrical, and that we actually extend much farther than we see in our physical self, and it's all connected. Our interdimensional body, everything. There's a lot of things that are ancient that we may always have known, and yet we have lost our way in not only taking responsibility for our own health and our own research, but just giving the power over to something that doesn't really intend to heal us. I really feel, again, if you're talking about like what Agenda 21 is, or depopulation, population control, my feeling is that since I've been involved with cannabis, since I've looked at healthcare, since I've looked into all these different things, with what we are beginning to find out, what we're learning. I mean, I don't know how many people. I'm on my soapbox right now, but I'm passionate about this. I don't know how many people I know personally, or that I've had on, say, the Hollywood Hemptress Hour show, that they are alive today. They would not be alive today if they had not taken their cannabis oil or started this kind of treatment. The doctor told them, get your affairs in order. You're not going to make it. You need to, you have so amount of time that we predict that you're not going to be here. And I know these people. They're healthy today. They're pioneers in the cannabis plant, and they're laughing. They're in joy, and this is what's happening. And I don't understand if just one person makes it. Why doesn't this make national news? Why don't the books break open and we go, oh my God, there's a cure, there's a cure, there's a cure? Why? We not only have we been suppressed, but we get arrested and killed. I mean, it goes on and on. Just completely shut down, shamed, told blatant lies in the mainstream media, and this is what I feel is really going on. It makes no sense to me. And so I just say, like what you're doing, you're growing it, you're healthy, you're living your life, and you're hoping to go back to work. And I think that's really, really wonderful. Now, Dino really wants to bring in some stuff on Obamacare. And so, what would you like to say about, and also in relation to what he's going through? What would you like to say into Obamacare?
Well, last week we talked about Obamacare, and I think you really hit the nail on the head with Obamacare. It's, there's money involved in it. When you equate money with people, you can't say, well, Grandma Miller here, she's not worth the $50,000 test we got to give her. You can't equate one with the other. I mean, is the police department going out and saying, well, it's going to be too much money for us to save this person? Is the fire department saying it's going to cost us too much to save this building? You can't equate, medicine with money. And also, it's socialism. It's kind of in between both. And there's some kind of ruse, some kind of, plot, something that's in Obamacare that we don't understand, that we don't see yet. Like, Jeff was saying, he didn't want all his personal information, being, out there. And also, when you sign up for Obamacare, they're connected to your checking and savings account, and they know how much money you have. And the IRS knows how much money you have. This is the worst thing ever in our country. Imagine that, like the IRS can actually look into your bank account. Do you realize that? Do you see that, Terry? That this is just so many bad things in Obamacare that we don't even realize yet. We don't see what it really is. It's in disguise right now. Don't you think, Terry?
Well, I do. I'm suspicious of it. I mean, to be honest with you, I haven't really signed up for it yet. I'm dragging my feet. I watch some of my other friends, talk about it or make postings, and some of my friends are really pro, like, oh, I got here and I did all this lab work, and, I got these meds and a pap smear and a mammogram, and, oh, you got to sign up, this is great, this is great, this is great. I hear one side of it. I mean, one of the things is that, and I'm concerned about, is like, well, what kind of choices do I have here? If I get really, really, let's say I got really, really, really sick and I needed to go to the hospital, to show up at the hospital and they go, do you have Obamacare? And then to say no, I feel like they're going to look at me and go, look, this is free health care for you. It's not really free. There's nothing really free. But people believe that it's free, and they perceive that anybody who talks against Obamacare, well, then you're just a Republican, or you're a Tea Partier, or you want small government and Hemptress hour. Sorry, I keep saying that tonight. I actually. Sometimes the brain just wants to rewire itself, and something else comes out of my mouth, which is weird. But Hollywood Hemptress Hour is a show that I do on the Time for Hemp Network, and I think it's because the subject matter is about cannabis. I keep wanting to say that I'm on Hollywood Hemptress Hour, but I'm actually on Freedom of Joyce. Either way, I'm Terry Joyce. I'm your host. And this is the Freedom of Joyce show on Revolution Radio. And so thank you so much for listening. With me is Jeff Waters, who is a cannabis patient, and he has. Do you say you cured your COPD? Is that how you rephrase it? I mean, how do you? Is that what you're posting to people?
I'm sorry. What was the question again?
Do you term it as? I mean, are you saying that that cannabis has cured your COPD?
I don't want to right now say it's cured it. I am saying that it is curing it. I'm not saying right at this point that I know or believe for a fact right now that I'm totally free of COPD, but I believe I will be. That's for sure.
Well, I believe you will be too, and I was excited to have you on the show today, and for you to talk about the subject matter, so that other people who might be out there that are suffering with COPD or for other diseases, that they will research cannabis and find out more information on it. Where do you think people should go to if they want to? If they have COPD, can they contact you someplace, or are there certain websites that are supportive?
The best way to reach me is either through Facebook, which my name is Jeff Waters. I'm on Facebook. I'm pretty easy to find. And also, I have a GoFundMe page, which I'm using their donations to pay for when I get to the point, that's my next step in the journey, is actually to get in there and do the breathing tests and compare my results from last breathing test I did and see where I'm at, and get the chest X-ray, the blood work, and all that stuff done, and have it documented, and that's expensive, and that's part of where my GoFundMe is for, is also for that, and also because again I have no insurance, no income, and the oil is my only medication right now. I have met some amazing people who have donated it to me, but there are also others out there that need it. And I'm trying to also raise the funds so I don't take away a donation of oil for a cancer patient or somebody else who needs it so badly. So I'm hoping to get some support and some funds that way to be a little more self-sufficient in that area and to help others. And also I have an email, jeffwaters1972 @gmail.com. So that's ways to reach me. As far as researching it, My story is out there on several websites, so I'm actually flattered now that I'm on Google. If you type in my name, Jeff Waters, and COPD, you'll find several sites that have my story on there. If you want to research COPD and cannabis oil, that would also be a good tool. Google those two words and start reading up on it and see what you have. There's also many groups on Facebook that you can search.
All right, we lost you there a little bit, Jeff.
I'm sorry?
Come a little closer to your mic on your phone.
Okay. So, again, like the groups on Facebook is a good way to go to. But there's information out there, and not just COPD. If you have cancer or whatever your disease is, if you search online, most of the time you'll find different treatment options and different things that you can read up on. And also, again, it's important that you change your diet. With COPD, there are certain diets that are more healthy for COPD lung patients than others. So that's another good thing to search, a COPD diet on Google.
Now, I wanted to ask you, you're in Oklahoma, and Oklahoma is not a medical marijuana state, correct?
Correct.
Right. And so how are you getting access, and are you afraid of being arrested for taking your own treatment?
Well, I really don't want to just publicly say how I'm getting the treatments, but
sure,
again,
I understand that.
My state. But what I would tell you this: there's some fear in it, but not that bad, because a couple of things. Number one, I keep my nose clean. I don't go to bars. I don't associate with a lot of people. My wife and my family are my life, and so I'm not one out there that they're going to be looking at that hard. And to be honest with you, if they did come after me, I would think it'd be totally ridiculous, because they have bigger fish to fry than a 31-year-old man that uses cannabis oil as a medical treatment. I don't share my oil. I don't sell my oil. I don't have people come over to my house and take the oil. It's my medicine, and that's what I use it for. So if they came after me, I would hope that, especially with the way America is changing their point of view, that somebody would speak up on my behalf and help me get out of that situation. Hopefully that never occurs.
I have a question that I do want to ask you in terms of like you mentioned the two different strains, the sativa one and the indica one. How high do you feel from taking the oil? I mean, is it something that you feel that you can keep, like you could work, or you could drive a car on? I mean, what level of THC intoxication are you experiencing?
The sativa strain gives you energy, and that's would be if you're still an individual wanted to take the oil as a treatment and go to work during the day, that would be the strain to use. And everybody reacts to it differently. Somebody had just asked me earlier about that. I don't get stone trippy high off of the oil. I take a minimal amount that I need to make me feel better, and I go about my daily activities. Now, other people, may be more sensitive to the oil. Whenever I'm telling people who are starting out, I always advise them to take a very small dose, maybe a pinhead size of oil, to see how they react to it. You can always take more if you're not feeling the effect. But if you take too much, then your body may react differently. It may make you sleepy. It may make you high and tripped out. If you've never done cannabis oil at all, when I was a teenager, I smoked, cannabis before, so obviously I was aware of it and how it affected me. So new people on oil, new patients really need to start small, see how it affects you, and then go from there.
What are some of your goals that you have around this? Are you wanting to to become more active and get it legalized in Oklahoma and be part of that process? Or Are you? Where's your next step in what you're doing in your message?
Well, my next step is, at this point, and right now, really what I'm trying to do is get the story out there to make people see the.
You know what, Jeff? We can't hear you again. Can you come back a little bit more into the microphone?
Okay, is that better?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, my next step is, this step right now, just to get the story out there to many people who can hear it, read it, and so they can investigate it themselves and research it and see if it's an option for them. Personally, I guess you could say I've become somewhat of an activist out there on my own. In my state, unfortunately, there's not much support. We did have a senator, Constance Johnson, who introduced a legalization bill in Oklahoma. Quickly shot down. I've reached out to her and
we
never
can't
heard
hear
back.
you again, sweetie. Can you get a little make sure you keep yourself over where your mic is on your phone.
What's that?
Make sure that you see where your mic is on your phone because you keep slipping in and out a little bit.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Let me try this. Hang on.
All right. Okay.
I had a fan on in the background. I'm wondering if maybe that was causing the problem.
No, it seems like you seem to move away from where you're talking at. It's as if you put the phone down or something happens where we just can't hear you as well.
Okay, I'll try to keep it in one place for the rest of the interview. Is this good?
That's perfect. Okay,
great. So back. I lost track of what we were even discussing. I'm sorry.
It happens. It definitely. What were we discussing? There was we were talking about the state of Oklahoma.
My plans, yes.
Yeah.
And again, Oklahoma is behind the times. Just to give you an example of Oklahoma, tattoos were illegal in Oklahoma up to probably maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I imagine.
Tattoos?
Yeah, there weren't a tattoo. If you wanted a tattoo in Oklahoma, you had to go to somebody's bedroom and get it, from a home.
Oklahoma, where you can't get a tattoo or smoke weed. I'm not going there. Okay.
Yes, it's backwards. It's really behind the times here, and so
Oklahoma, where the wind comes sweeping down the plain, and no one can have a joint. All right. Sorry. Sometimes I get turned at.
So I'm I'm trying to get that story out there to help others. My goals, of course, I'm glad to see.
We can't hear you again. We can't hear you again.
And and hopefully that will happen soon. But until then, I just try to get my story out there. I want to help others. I would like to someday think that I can make the oil myself to donate to others like it was done to me. That's a big goal myself.
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing your story today. We've got about maybe 15 more minutes here. Dino Dad 32 is with us today. Dino, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm here.
Great. And do you have any thoughts or questions that you would like to ask our guests?
Well, he was saying some very important things, and you were talking about the pharmaceutical companies, or you were referring to why is this treatment not available out there. But, I don't know if we talked about this before, but the pharmaceutical companies will not allow this type of treatment. You know why? Because of money. Anything that they cannot patent, that they cannot own, that they cannot exploit to us, they will not sell it. There could be a completely all-natural treatment to something with no side effects, but they don't have the rights to it. It's all natural. They won't sell that. They'll sell you their chemicals that have side effects, and then they'll sell you more pills for those side effects. You know what we were talking about, the pharmaceutical companies, which amazed me. I just realized this. Oh, my God, it's revelation in my life that they're not making pills to cure us. We realize this, right? They are not making things or researching cures. All they're doing is giving us and selling us chemicals that are extremely high profit. You know, they're making it for 8 cents and selling it to us for $8 for a pill or more. And they will not make or research anything that cures the disease. They're just, you know, going about, you know, it's all wrong. You know, it's the microcosm of our society. They're just
It's all wrong. And, you know, the fact that we watch commercials on a regular basis that has a litany of side effects that are much worse than the disease that you're actually treating. One that made me just laugh hysterically was the one about social anxiety. And it had, you know, the commercial, and then one of the side effects was that dysfunction. And I'm like, what's the point? I mean, eventually you can meet the girl and get her naked, and then now you're going to have a dysfunction from the product. You might as well just stay home and be anxious.
Yes, I mean, those commercials, they always have, like, 2 minutes of commercial and 5 minutes of side effects. What's with that? They always have those commercials.
But the disclaimer legally, and it goes really fast, and because of the fact that you heard it, the fact that we heard it, even if it went really fast, that we can barely detect it, and that your doctor tells you when he gives it to you, and you look at, you know, your side effects in your paper, that little, you know, note that you get, and, you know, whatever paperwork they give you, then they're not legally responsible for anything that happens to you. You know, it's almost like I feel that we're just a physical commodity that if something that really, you know, I might seem really negative, and if I do, you know, I hope that something in my life changes to where I have better faith in things. But it just feels like, you know, hey, we really kind of hope you die at some point. Like if one of these side effects did happen, you'd be one less person that we'd have to worry about.
You know, there are lawyers.
To have on Obamacare, or to even have on whatever other government says. We'd rather not pay your Social Security to you because it was really meant to be paid to us in the first place.
You know, there are lawyers that are just waiting for these chemicals to do bad things to people. That, you know, when some new product comes out, they actually seek the people saying, are there side effects? Are there death? Are there bad things? We'll sue the companies for you. So these pharmaceutical companies always get sued no matter what disclaimer, no matter what you sign up for. They get sued. And that's how come they can't make a profit off of these things. I talk to the people at Pfizer and pharmaceutical companies around my area. And they say there's, you know, hardly any profit to be made because after 10 years, you know, our patent wears out and they can make a genetic. And, you know, it takes us so long to research and get this product or chemical or drug approved that by the time, you know, we see a profit margin, it's years down the line, and it's only for a short time. Because the lawyers are making this whole thing expensive. And, Terry, I want to tell you, look, you know, a guest said something really important last week. I keep forgetting his name, but he said, Terry, if you're hurting, go to a doctor. You know, any health care is better than no health care. You know, I know you're afraid of doctors. I hate to go to the doctors, but
I'm not afraid of doctors. Let me clarify that. I'm not afraid of them. I just don't trust them.
Well, no one does. Who is?
You know, I mean, I'm having a problem with the system, and you know, I've been to doctors. I mean, I was a sick kid. I mean, I was in a back brace. I had 12 vertebrae in my spine fused, and a metal rod in my back. You know, I mean, I've gone through the system, and you know, I think it's changed. I think it's changed since the time that I was there before to what it is now, and so I don't trust any of it, and I see you know, and so that's why you know, I'm interested in having our guest be here today to get this information out there and realize that there are other options. The solution that I see in it is basically we need to, like, first of all, we're exercising civil disobedience to keep ourselves well. Now, what's wrong with that picture?
There's a lot wrong with that. There's a lot wrong with the medical system today. And I hear what you're saying, Terry. I understand. And you should be leery of the system. And it's interesting you say that the medical practice today has changed. But you shouldn't not go to it like, you know, we said, you know, you should go get health care if you can get health care. And, you know, I talked about this last week or the week before about that, you know, all this alternative medicine was illegalized years ago by the pharmaceutical companies that were making big profits off of selling, you know, their wares to people. and they illegalized the holistic doctors and only gave licenses to the general practitioners that they trained in their facilities, in their medical schools. They funded. You got to realize this.
You know what? We have a call coming in. Hold on. Let me. We actually have a caller. We don't have much of the show left, but I just want to interrupt you. Who do we have on the line here?
We got Stalamo. I just wanted to chime in on what you guys said.
Wonderful. What would you like to add to the conversation?
Okay. You had said something about speaking negatively.
Yeah.
I like to tell you that don't worry about speaking negatively, because negatively is somebody else's duality. That's all it is.
Thank you.
Okay? And also about the being afraid of doctors, and the other guy saying, well, everybody is. That doesn't no, you don't trust them, but nobody trusts them. But they still go to them. But it still doesn't excuse it. Why is it that if nobody trusts them, we still go to them? We have so many issues that we have to deal with on a sociological level.
What is now that we're all here? I mean, what is our solution to this? I mean, here we understand that our healthcare system has some serious issues, including Obamacare, and then we have Jeff over here. He's healing himself with cannabis oil. What do you feel? Does anybody have an answer? Where do we walk to make this better?
I have a solution. Let the guest go first, and I'll tell you what the solution is.
Well, how about our caller? Would our caller like to say something on that?
I'm sorry, but if we're looking for solutions, I think we're looking in the wrong places. I think before we can actually find solutions, we need to learn how to ask the right questions. And that's where our limitations are. We're looking for the quick fix, because we've been programmed within our society to have that quick fix. We've got this technology that's got everything at our fingertips. We have all these solutions that are right at our fingertips. We can ask an expert for all the answers. But instead of finding that quick fix, perhaps all we need to do is start talking about the right questions.
Wow, that's good.
That's really nice. Thank you.
Yeah, that's very good.
That's all.
And Dino, what do you want to? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, the guest last week said a lot of things. The solution is to have money. You throw money at the problem, and it always solves it. You know something? The rich people in this world, they're not hurting. They have great doctors. They have great health care. They're not sick. So if you had a lot of money, there's the solution. Just go out and make a whole bunch of money today. I don't care if you have to rip people off to make money to get healthy. That's the solution. If you're rich, you don't have that problem. There's the solution. And the rest of us, we're screwed. There's no solution for, the measly, the peasants out there. You got to be rich. Money is the only thing that will solve it. And the government will never, ever make health care better. Like I said, they can't equate health care with money. Okay?
But they do. They have.
That's a stupid equation.
But it is about money. I mean, that's the part that I find that's sad about it. I also want to thank our caller for calling in, and so that was really nice. Hey, we're at the end of the show, and I want to give a plug to freedomofchoice.net is my website that you can find me at.